From city council meetings to social media to the Worcester 311 app, Worcester residents have shared a common complaint following our harsh winter weather: potholes. My name's Tom Matthews. On this episode of The Buzz, I'll be talking to the city manager to find out how the city is addressing potholes. All right, Mr. Manager, today we are talking about something that you've heard a lot about recently, something that is everyone's favorite topic to complain about in New England: potholes. How did the city get so many potholes this year?
Yeah, I think, there's been a combination of things as to why a community like Worcester and many others across the New England region or across the state have endured a significant amount of potholes in their infrastructure. One of the reasons why is we've had a very, very difficult winter. We had 2 blizzards. We have the 8th snowiest winter in the history of the city with over 6 feet of snow. And so those kinds of conditions impact the road network and the road infrastructure. And so we had a lot of challenges with that. And that's something that has required us to address in a very rapid way because, again, it impacts every resident, every visitor, everyone that goes around the city.
All right. Can you take us through how our DPW crews are addressing potholes in the city of Worcester?
Yeah, so they're working throughout the city. Historically, they were addressing every incident, every request that was coming in. And so they would take those 311 requests and they would try to address them as best as possible. But there were so many. And so we had to pivot in some ways, and we worked to go alongside the trash routes and make sure that our DPW crew was out there. We increased the crew. Every day we had between 3 to 10 crews out there, making sure that we're addressing every single route, every single pothole as much as possible, but also prioritizing the ones that were large. So we had to address that as well.
All right, so there's a little bit of science to filling a pothole. Can you take us through that process?
Yeah, so there's 2 types of asphalts that we use. There's the cold patch and the hot mix. The cold patch is typically used in the winter. It's a temporary kind of cold patch to try to address the pothole right away. And one of the challenges that we have is that that's not easily available, especially in our area. The crew has to travel far to obtain that and be able to provide that cold patch. The hot mix is something that, again, it's more sustainable, it's a little bit more efficient, but requires certain types of temperature, certain terms of the conditions. And that's where we as a city right now are using that hot mix. What you see behind us is the hot mix to try to patch it and try to preserve that on a long-term basis.
All right, so the city is addressing potholes, but what is the city doing overall to address the road conditions?
Yeah, so one of the biggest efforts that we launched was the pavement management program. And that gives us the ability to sustain our infrastructure on a much longer pace. If we don't address cracks in the road, if we don't address the potholes, if we don't provide any preservation to our road network, they deteriorate. And that deterioration then impacts the road. So then it puts us in a place that we're just now chasing the worst street. Instead of really preserving that street as best as possible, it gives us more lifespan of that infrastructure.
All right, so if someone were to come across a pothole in the city, what should they do?
They should contact 311. That is the best solution. It's to contact 311, report the pothole, puts it in the system, allows us to follow up, understand and know whether it was done, whether it wasn't done, the conditions of it. The 311 is the best. That's the process in which requests get assigned, and they get assigned to each particular department where they can then deploy their workers and be able to do the work.
All right, now some people have said that they filed a 311 request and then it gets closed out before the work is actually completed. What's going on there?
Yeah, and we acknowledge that. We acknowledge that there has been some cases where the work has been closed and it hasn't been completed, and it takes a few days to get there instead of the 20 to 48 hours or so. We understand that and we know that. We're working very diligently to fix the system, improve the process, because at the end of the day, we want residents to feel like the municipal government is responsive, that we're responsible and we're responsive to their needs, and also communicate. I think oftentimes residents just want to hear back and communicate back to them. So we want to be able to do that. We're going through the process. We're working with the departments to enhance that so that we can be able to communicate and also respond in fixing the issues right away.
All right, now if somebody's reported a pothole, they hit it with their car and it's caused some damage to their car. Is there any recourse for them?
Yeah, I think, what they need to do is, one, they need to, if they hit the pothole, they need to just report the pothole. Maybe that someone hasn't reported, so they need to report it so that people know, and we know that there's an issue there. But at the same time, submit a claim. Submit a claim to the law department. The law department has been working very diligently to get through all these claims. So we encourage folks to submit a claim if that's the case, and then we would then go through that process to mitigate or investigate the issue.
All right, now, is there anything else folks need to know about what the city's doing to address potholes?
Yeah, I think the individuals and the residents of this community need to understand this is nothing unique to Worcester. It's not unique to the state of Massachusetts or New England. But it is our responsibility as a municipality, as the stewards of the taxpayer dollars, to make sure that we provide a good network, a good road network that the residents can be comfortable with. And so we're going to work towards that and know that and be confident that we're putting our efforts to it. Not only in this year's budget, we've been able to put some dollars into that, but we're going to continue to improve our process and make sure that we have a great network for our residents.
Fantastic. All right, thank you, Mr. Manager, and thank you for tuning in. That does it for this episode of The Buzz. Make sure to give us a follow on social media. Head on over to worcesterma.gov to find out everything else that's happening in the city.